is lame and absurd, but just a bit. You need to sit back and observe a certified pimp. So oh yes he is. I mean that boy does the shit. So messy is. Fresh to death. Ain't nobody fresh as he is. They can't compare or get next to him because he's so fly. I mean the boy's so clean. From his white tee home down to those jeans. You see the ice in the pinky.
Good morning, everybody. It's your man's Ken Jackson. This is the Ken Jackson Experience. Welcome to the show today, in my continuing series on the evolution of music. Hope you saw yesterday's broadcast where we pretty much introduced this series, and we talked about how the industry has changed. But today, we're talking about old school grit in the new school world. And, we're talking respect, resilience, and realness in an age of shortcuts, soft talk, and social media smoke. Okay, so what is old school grit? Old school grit was showing up early, staying late. It was listening more than you talked. It was doing the work when no one else was watching. All right, you didn't need to announce every move, let everybody know what the hell you were doing. You just made shit happen. That's what old school grit is. And since then, since back when I started, the game has changed tremendously. Now we've got artists out here chasing fame, chasing quick fame, looking to go viral when there's really no value in the music. And they look for followers over focus, and that's a shame. The industry has become so watered down that there's no talent involved anymore. It's just put something together as quick as you can, throw it out there, and hope they bite. And that's it. And unfortunately, they're biting on the worst possible shit you could imagine. I'm so sick of the garbage, and it's out there. But the truth is, you can't shortcut experience. Experience will always win out as far as long-term, career growth, longevity, and just putting out good music. Experience always wins. I don't care what they tell you. So if you're looking for a long career in the music industry, focus on putting together truly good music from the heart. You got to be passionate about it. And, because an app, which there are so many of today. A lot of these artists live by the apps. An app, it can't replace experience. It can't replace character. And filters can't hide your weaknesses forever. We've had so many artists that have come out, in the past few years who were so heavily processed, and their music, was doctored and EQ'd and reverbed and auto-tuned, to the point that when you heard them live, with none of that, you were sorely disappointed in the product because you found out that your favorite artists were garbage. So that's what we're dealing with now. Is a whole lot of garbage out there. Hold on, let me adjust this because this is clipping just a little bit. There's so much garbage out there And this is why grit still matters. This is why old school, in my opinion, still reigns supreme. That old school hustle, it's timeless. And we need it now more than ever. You know what I mean? We got to get back to the way we used to do things in the music industry, you know, when we were out on the streets, you know, passing out product, you know, and getting people to genuinely pay attention to the music. I remember, you know, when I was a kid, you know, dreaming about, you know, what I might be doing one day. And, you know, biggest thing back in the, you know, late 60s, early 70s, you know, was Motown, you know, and Motown was on fire back in the day. And I remember a lesson from Berry Gordy. He's the founder of Motown Records. And what he used to do with every one of his new artists before he released them, you know, publicly, he would gather a bunch of people, you know, down at Motown Studios. He would play the latest singles that they were about to put out, and he would ask the listeners, if you had your last dollar and you were hungry, would you buy this record or would you buy a sandwich? And I thought, you know, the first time I heard that, like, well, shit, I'm going to eat. You know what I'm saying? But I understood the process. I understood the logic behind that, because you wanted your music to be so infectious that a person would be willing to go hungry just to buy that record. And if a person would spend their last dollar buying your record instead of buying them something to eat, you know you had a hit. You had a for sure hit. And that formula worked for so long, you know, with Motown. And but over time, you know, as Berry Gordy was up and out of the industry and the new school started taking over, they fell into the trappings of technology and you know, and what we have now. You know, we got to just throw it out, throw the product out. It needs to hit the market as fast as possible. And it's sad, you know, it's sad. So we got to get back. We got to get back to you know, to the old school. You know, I mean, you can stay new school sharp, you know, but we need that old school soul. You know what I mean? We need people. You know, we need to bring back like cassette tapes and shit. You know, vinyl is coming back to life. Actually, I was surprised recently. I saw an article where vinyl record sales are up. You know, because people are young people now are discovering, you know, the magic of a record. You know, I can remember, you know, growing up, you know, we were watching Soul Train, and my grandmother, she had one of those, I call it a music cabinet, you know, but it was a big cabinet in the living room, and inside of it was a television, and it had the record player and the speakers, and it was all built into one. And man, her and my aunties would throw on those old 45s, you know, and we'd be listening to the Jackson 5 and the Temptations and Supremes. I know a lot of you youngsters don't know who that is, but let me tell you something. These were some true artists back in the day. The music was fire. It's still fire. You listen to some of these old songs now, you know, from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they still, in my opinion, are some of the dopest songs ever produced. Jackson 5 was one of my favorite groups growing up. They were like the first super pop stars, in my opinion. Um, and we had some great ones since then. I think probably, the best, as far as the boy groups, the boy bands, since the Jackson 5 was New Edition. And out of New Edition came Belle Biv DeVoe, Bobby Brown, Ralph Tresvant. They built an empire, and they're just as legendary, now as the Jackson 5 were. But there were many others, all up through the 70s, and there were Silvers, and some of the old school bands like Cameo, Kool and the Gang, Earth, Wind and Fire. They just don't make them like that anymore. I miss those days so much. I really do. The old school is popping, y'all. Y'all youngsters need to find out what the old school grit and grind was all about. If we bring that back, the music industry will be unstoppable. Unstoppable. All right, so take note, y'all. Some of you new artists out here, really need to pick the brains of some of these old school heads, and find out what it was really all about, to make music and get it out there. I think the last great era of music, was the 90s. We had a lot of R&B, New Jack Swing. I mean, it was a poppin' time. It was a fun time. And then when the 2000s hit and all this mumble rap started hitting the scene, and gangsters, everybody wanted to be a gangster, a thug, a dope boy, or whatever. Now everybody's gang banging and throwing up colors and all that. I mean, it's a bunch of nonsense now, and it's sad. It's sad, but I think we're turning the corner, because they always say, what comes around goes around, what goes around comes back around. So hopefully soon we'll be getting back to what music used to be, when it was fun and truly entertaining, and you could dance to it. We used to dance back in the day. Nobody dances anymore, other than these TikTok challenges and boots on the ground and all this bullshit. Knock it off. Let's get back to like the Soul Train days. You know what I'm saying? The American Bandstand days. You remember those shows? You youngsters don't have any idea what these shows were, but people as my age, my generation, remember Saturday morning, Soul Train we used to wait for Soul Train to come on. You know what I mean? Don Cornelius, would get out there and introduce the hottest group at the time, or hottest singer at the time. What was his name on American Bandstand? I can't remember dude's name. Even though it was a white show, but they brought out a lot of black artists too, which was surprising. But black artists, led the field. We paved the way and made it possible for music to truly be universal. You know what I mean? So, old school. Let's get back to it. Let's bring back music. And let's save the industry. All right, so that's all I got for y'all today. Until next time, y'all keep it safe out there. We're losing too many young people, to the bullshit in the streets, but keep in mind, don't dim your light, to fit into their shade. All right. Be you. We built this, and we still matter. us old school heads. All right. So thanks for listening. I'm your host, Ken Jackson. This is my experience. Tune in next time. Keep it locked. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. And remember, old school is now not outdated. It's just upgraded. All right. So peace. I will see y'all on the next show. I'm out.